The Maple Leafs have a new $11 million man. The NHL All-Stars are announced as the first batch are ready to go. And Connor Bedard is out indefinitely with a fractured jaw. Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Off the Post. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Postmedia hockey columnist Bruce Garrioch. And guys, we'll get to the All-Stars in a moment here, but got to talk about William Nylander, who has been a top-level NHL player dating back to last season. This year, he's taken it to another level, on pace for 120 points. Steve, when you look at the comparables around the league, is Nylander a guy that you've watched for a very long time, worth $11+ million per season?
Well, today answering that question is probably the wrong day. A year from now, 2 years from now, I think I can answer the question a whole lot better. William Nylander this season is one of the top 10 players in the NHL. Last season, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, he's never been top 20. So we're talking about an enormous jump that this young man, or not so young man, has made. And if he can continue to play at the level he is playing right now for the next several years, then the $11 million contract is actually a bargain. But I'm not convinced, and I'm not sure anyone can be convinced, that this is who he is and this is who he's going to be for next year and the year after and the year after that. This season is an anomaly. Let's see what next season brings.
Well, and it'll be interesting, Steve, to see how Maple Leafs manage their cap now. I mean, everybody's talking now that Mitch Marner at some point will be the odd man out. I think they only have one year left after this of John Tavares, so there are some decisions to be made. Is William Nylander worth $11 million? I don't know. Can he keep up what he's done this year? I think that remains to be seen. But I find it interesting because oftentimes we've talked about NHL players taking less so that they can keep their teams together. Well, that doesn't appear to be the case anymore. And
it's never been the case with the Leafs. That group of four, if you want to call it that, however you want to, other than Nylander's original deal coming out of, his holdout, that was, kind of a hometown discounty deal, although it wasn't intended to be that. It turned out to be that over time. I don't look at Marner as even being a factor in this, as far as I'm concerned. You have one more year of the four guys together. It's $40 million right now. It's going to be $46 million next year. The year after, John Tavares is done. And so then the Leafs can take that $11 million contract and maybe turn it into a 5 or a 6. I don't think he's a 10 or a 9 or an 8 anymore. You drop him way back. So suddenly that number becomes basically the number it is now. They have 1 year of sort of cap juggling. 2 years from now, I don't think there's any cap juggling to be done. It's easy numbers to play with. And so the number doesn't bother me nearly as much as the production v. the number. If he plays anywhere close to the level he's playing now, this is a bargain contract within 3 to 4 years, Bruce. It's going to be an 8-year deal. So you're talking about the final 3 or 4 seasons where this is a plus contract for the Maple Leafs. And if that's the case, then you got to say it's a good deal. But the whole thing hinges upon who William Nylander is. Is he this year's version? Is he last year's version? Is he 3 years ago's version? They're all different players.
The first batch of NHL All-Stars was announced, guys. 32, in fact, as every team will have at least one player going to Toronto. Bruce, should every team be represented at the All-Star game, or should it only be the best of the best?
Look, the All-Star, debating the All-Star game, the All-Star weekend is great until the puck drops, right? I mean, I think the skills competition, except for the dumb stuff they did in Florida last year, for the most part, is very entertaining to watch. I like that they've brought the draft back. Look, I'm someone who likes All-Star weekend. I do think every team should be represented. I think, everybody wants to see one of their players at the All-Star game. I do think it's funny here in Ottawa, guys, that the Senators fans have gone on X and they are trying to get Shane Pinto in the All-Star game to show Gary Bettman that he shouldn't have suspended this guy. for 41 games. So, it's a bit of the game itself is a joke, Steve, but I think every team should be represented.
I'm like you, Bruce. I love the idea of all-star games. I love the idea of them in every sport until the ball drops or the first pitch is thrown or the puck drops. And it's not just the game. The game is actually better than what skills competition was last year, which was embarrassingly terrible. But I understand when you're in, Anaheim, you want your guy in the game, or you're in San Jose, you want your guy in the game. It doesn't make sense to me. If you're the NHL, it doesn't make sense if you've got Connor McDavid there. You also want Leon Draisaitl there. Now he has to get voted in, and let's see how that all works out. Or if you're the Maple Leafs and Nylander, is not picked because Austin Matthews is there, and does he get voted in? And so you want the best of the best there. But the fans in every market are sort of looking for their guy. And I'll go back to the early years of the Blue Jays when Ron Fairley went to the All-Star game representing the Jays, and how exciting that was as a Blue Jays fan to think this guy is at the All-Star game with Reggie Jackson and all these other guys. And it meant something. The way I guess Frank Vetrano means something now for whatever fan base is excited by him being there. And so there's no right answer. I'm like Bruce, have the weekend, have the parties, introduce everybody, cancel the skills competition, and cancel the game.
Yeah, well, if Shane Pinto goes, it would be joining the lines of John Scott and Zemgus Girgensons and some of those other guys that have been voted in by the fans. Finally, a tough break, literally, for the Chicago Blackhawks. Connor Bedard out indefinitely with a broken jaw after a hard hit from New Jersey Devils defenseman Brendan Smith. Steve, there's been differing opinions on the hit. Some of the players say it was dirty. The coach, Luke Richardson, said it was not. Did you think it was on the offside, a dirty one, when it comes to this hit?
No, I thought it was a fine hit. I thought there was nothing wrong with it. And one of the problems that I'm having in today's world is that players are not being taught or are not learning how to protect themselves better. And so they're cutting the old Eric Lindros cut across the middle thing with your head down is getting players in trouble. And in this case, it got Connor Bedard, I think, in some trouble. He didn't see what was coming. He wasn't aware of what circumstances. A professional defenseman, not a great one, professional defenseman made a sound physical play. Sometimes you're going to get hurt when you're not expecting to get hit and you're not anticipating it and your head's down. And that's what happened in my belief in this case.
And one of the things I don't think it was a dirty hit. One thing I am tired of is every time you make a big hit, you have to fight. I mean, I just think it has become, I think it's become a little bit idiotic. You can't make a big hit without having to drop the gloves, and I know you have to be prepared for it. But to me, it's tiresome. Let's put it that way.
It's too bad that it's Bedard because he was lighting it up and he was so much fun to watch, and he's still going to be so much fun to watch the rest of the season. And he's going to now miss the All-Star game. And unfortunately, we would have had a chance to see him in skills and in the 3-on-3 and all that goes on there. So, you don't want that guy hurt. Had it been somebody else, it probably wouldn't have been much conversation at all.
Yeah, definitely a tough one for the Blackhawks and the NHL as a whole. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week on another edition of Off the Post.